All right, episode 53. So this week I actually have been finishing up an audiobook by Anthony Bourdain. I know I quoted him last week. I promise I'm not like this huge, like crazy Anthony Bourdain fan or anything. I just saw the quote and then decided to listen to his audiobook and give it a try. But if you don't know him, Anthony Bourdain was a chef who turned into like this travel documentarian. And in his book, he talks about his journey through the kitchen. And as he talks about certain periods in his lifetime, he discloses some insider information about the restaurant industry. So, for example, you should never order fish on Mondays because more often than not, the chef places their orders on Thursdays, get their deliveries on Friday, and then the next shipment doesn't come until the following Tuesday. Or another tip was to beware of bread and butter. Some places reuse these items if they're not touched by previous customers. But even if you're still like not eating that bread, I don't know, it's sitting between two people who like have been sitting there for a half hour. God knows what's been spewed on it or landing on it. So, but anyways, almost immediately after hearing this, my first thought was, I wonder what else I don't know. Like, do I even want to know? Is this an ignorance is bliss kind of scenario here? Then I was like, no, you know what? I'd want to know. I'd rather know if someone's fucking up my food or not. And then my next thought was, I've had some pretty odd jobs myself, and they've been across a few different industries. So what insider information am I holding on to that I'm not even realizing? So today, I'm disclosing all the insider information that I've learned throughout the last 10 plus years of working in odd jobs, but I won't just stop there either. I also went online and found some employee secrets from various industries, and in my mind, it only makes sense to share those secrets too. But first, I'm going to start with me. Here are a list of all of the jobs that I've had in my lifetime. So first, I was a Levi's sales associate. I was a summer camp counselor at the YMCA. I was a free sample kind of food hummus boy at Whole Foods. When I worked in college, I worked at a gym in college. And then I also worked at a calzone shop. And then I worked at Lowe's in the paint and outdoors departments, and then unloaded trucks at night with convicts. And those were all the jobs until I graduated college. But here is what I learned. For my first employee insight, it has to be that retail places won't do anything if you steal something. For my first job at Levi's, it was located in an outlet mall, so big discounts, thousands of pairs of jeans. I learned a lot about that job. I learned about how to fold pants properly. I learned that women's pants sizes are different from men's sizes, and they're completely different. And then I also learned that Asian people love Levi's. I grew up in Las Vegas, and the outlet mall was pretty close to the strip. So every day, you'd come to work, and you would just get busloads of Asian tourists with empty suitcases, and their sole mission for this Vegas vacation was to fill this luggage with as many Levi jeans as possible. And this was a busy store. I mean, you had tons of customers just flying in and out. People are changing, people are like putting stuff back, but every now and then you'd catch a customer just stealing thousands of dollars worth of jeans, and we would just let them walk right out. We were told specifically, do not intervene if someone is stealing. Do not accuse them, do not block their exit, and definitely do not touch them. And for a young 16-year-old boy, I was like, just what are you guys talking about? Like, what do you mean? You can totally stop me. You just take the suitcase. That's all you have to do. But then you realize most of these tourists don't speak a lick of English anyway. So even if you were to stop them, it's not like you're going to get a confession out of them anyways. They don't know what you're saying. You don't know what they're saying. And yeah, I thought the whole thing was pretty wild. I've stolen some things before, but never anything as expensive as like a $45 pair of jeans. We were actually just talking about this this week, but you can steal so much stuff from like the self-checkout at a grocery store, we realized. Like, think about all of that free produce that's just being given away. Like, you could take off stickers. You can enter the quantity of 1 instead of 5. You can hold the bag on top of the scale, so it in efforts to make it weigh less. There are just tons of options to steal at these self-checkouts. Now, personally, we haven't done this, but stealing something, it's an absolute rush, man. And I can only imagine the feeling of stealing thousands of dollars worth of jeans. But if you've ever stolen something, please let me know. I think this topic is amazing. It's a side topic on this topic, but I think it tells a lot about a person what they steal. Sometimes it's a super random object, right? And then other times there's a great story behind it. So let me know. Anyways, for my second employee insight, this one actually came when I was starting out in my career. But when you're reading any press material and you see there's a quote from just Mr. or Mrs. Big Title, he or she didn't say that. I don't know if I was just super gullible or never really put a second thought towards are people actually saying these quotes. But when I was in public relations, I wrote quotes for everyone. I mean, granted, either they themselves had to approve it or someone close to them usually approved it, but I thought this was pretty crazy. And then in the little research that I did, I found someone else who said, I'm in marketing and I write a lot of press releases. Unless someone was actually interviewed by a reporter, every quote you read was written and thought up by someone other than the person allegedly saying it. And I 100% agree now. I mean, when you think about it, these people, these big names being quoted, right? They don't have the time to think of something to say. This is your job in PR. You think of something worthwhile to say and then you ghostwrite it. And this actually also goes for SEO. I don't know if many people know about this or what the average person knows, but the purpose of most blogs is so that you can stuff your websites with as many just keywords as possible so that your page or business just ranks higher when it's searched for online. So a lot of the time, these blogs are just filled with complete just nonsense. It's like when you're writing a paper and you have to hit a certain word limit. It's like there was a fire in the forest last night and the forest was in flames due to the fire that happened last night in the forest. So if you're ever reading important shit online, just think twice about it, I guess. But that being said, on to some good employee insights that I found online on the internet. And are they real? I really don't know. I have no way of knowing, and I'm willing, though, to spread the information and take it as truth. So the first one said, I manage a few apartment complexes, and more people than you know might die at home in their apartments. On more than one occasion, a neighbor noticed a smell. We generally did a specialty deep cleaning, and they take care of anything biological. Then we get the apartment ready as usual and relisted. And you never really think about this until it's too late. We just went apartment hunting and, this didn't even, we didn't even think about bringing this up. And I'm pretty sure you have to disclose that information, when you're buying a home and you ask about it specifically, but I don't know if the same rule really applies for apartments. And I think hotel rooms, it's pretty crazy too. I bet it happens way more often than you think. And in that scenario, even you could be sleeping in the bed that someone died in, which is a wild thought. I don't know if they change out the mattress or just flip it, but in our first apartment, we think we had prostitutes living next to us, which was exciting. Random different women would come in wearing the craziest stuff for weeks on end. And then eventually the next tenant was this one dude, and we never really saw him either. But one day, the apartment employees were just throwing out all of his shit, and he never came back. I don't know if he died in there. We didn't see anyone take a body out or anything, but I guess it's definitely possible. But everything he owned was just thrown in the dumpster. He never came and got it. But apartments see some serious traffic, and it's nothing that a little deep cleaning and a fresh coat of paint can't fix. Next one, I work in the ICU. Shows like Grey's Anatomy make people believe that when you take someone off life support, we call it withdrawal of life-sustaining therapy. Their loved ones will take one final breath and pass instantly. The reality is that it can take minutes, hours, sometimes even days to die. It can sometimes be messy, noisy, and or distressing. This makes it way harder to temper people's expectations, and they can end up being angry with us because it wasn't as they expected. Now, this I had no idea about this, right? This is kind of crazy. I thought pulled the plug and then maybe max 5 minutes, but days. So what I did was ask my wife. I was super casual, hey, does this happen? And she was just yeah, I suppose it could happen. Could take days. She said usually it takes a couple hours, but even then, man, that's a long goodbye. And you're questioning, did I make the right choice taking this person off? Are they fighting for their lives right now? What are they experiencing? But yeah, wow, I had no idea. And then I asked my wife if she had any other kind of employee insights for me. And she said, yes, don't go to the hospital in July. And I was pretty confused by this. I mean, without any additional information or context clues, you can take this in a lot of different directions. Like 4th of July, okay, fireworks. Maybe there's a lot of accidents you don't want to deal with. It's hot outside. It's summer vacation. Maybe it's busier than usual with old people getting shortness of breath or sick kids maybe always running around. But no, her reasoning was that it's the first month of work for residents. You're getting a doctor that's straight out of medical school and has never really done this job before, which that could be a scary thought too. Next one I found from the internet. This one was just pure internet gold, and I'm excited to share it. Here we go. So I worked at a cheese packaging factory a few years ago. We got big blocks of cheese in, cut them or shredded them, then packaged them all for sale. All the same blocks of cheese, but we changed the film and suddenly it's a different brand. Next time you go to Walmart and think the more expensive shredded cheese must be higher quality, think again. Just get the store brand. It all comes from the same blocks. And after hearing this, you're just like, wow, right? Like who knew? And then someone was so bothered by this statement that they felt inclined to respond. And they said, we have bought the store brand Walmart marbled cheese and the Cracker Barrel marbled cheese, and there is a significant difference. The Walmart stuff goes bad way faster and tastes a little more bland. The Cracker Barrel cheese has a sharper flavor and isn't as crumbly. It also lasts significantly longer, even though the two blocks are stored identically. I don't doubt that in some cases it's the same cheese but different wrapper. Tire companies do this a lot, but I don't think it's a blanket statement that applies to everyone. Then a third person hops onto this and says, here in OZ, Cracker Barrel is a real decent cheese. And I would question this absolutely. Now from there, the rest of the comment chain just kind of is dedicated to figuring out where exactly OZ is. But that's some definite insider information. And you better believe that my cheap ass is only buying Great Value or Kroger brand cheese from here on out. You know, nice try, Sargento. The jig is up. Another one that I could really relate to because I've spent some time in the cannabis industry said, the medicinal cannabis industry is all about turning a profit. Oh, this batch of cannabis has some mold or microbial bacteria. Let's process it into distillate and sell it for cheap. Oh, we have a fuckload of shake and trim that no one would normally buy. Let's package it into mixed batch pre-rolls and sell them for $7. In reality, none of these companies give a fuck about the end user. They will do whatever they need to do to make a profit and make ends meet, even if that means poisoning the patient along the way. They just want your money. Now, I sound a little bit like the dude defending the Cracker Barrel here, but in my previous experience, we had a lot of cannabis clients, right? And I've shot a lot of content at a lot of different grows around Las Vegas, and they are all extremely, extremely different from each other. Some, I agree, just are not in the greatest conditions, and some brands you can tell are just don't care about the end user at all. They're just pumping stuff out. But there are a few extreme cases, I would say, where you go into a grow and it is the cleanest, most well-run business you've ever seen in your entire life. And it all starts with like the head cultivator. And some of these guys, man, they are just so passionate about making the best weed, and it shows. Okay, let's rapid fire through some other ones that I found just to kind of wrap this up here. But this one's from a barista. One of them said, you get decaf if you're rude or entitled. It's incredible how many people don't realize this. For the record, I've actually only ever decafed one person, but I have a lot more tolerance for awful people than my coworkers. You've got to be nice to your service workers, man. Working in the service industry, there is very little from stopping you from fucking up this order or whatever the customer wants. And if you're rude to them, 9 times out of 10, I bet they're going to take it. This one says, the bank I work for has a credit card disputes department, and if you file a dispute under $25, they won't even investigate it. They will just credit your account and resolve the dispute. It costs them more in chargeback fees and labor costs than it does just to give you the $25 back. This is a pretty handy thing to know, I think, especially if you're maybe a college student just tight on cash. I would have been doing this all the time. And finally, this last one, which I saw pretty often in the little research that I did, but this was from pharmacists. So this one said, I'm a pharmacist. Pills get spilled by accident sometimes. We're only human. If it's some super cheap ibuprofen, it may get damaged. But if it's super expensive or a controlled substance where I'm going to have to file reports on what happened if I damage it, sorry, but I'm whipping out the pill brush. And we're going to dust that shit off. I have sold pills before after removing visible dirt, hair, and other stuff because the bottle is over $3,000. And for me, like, you can't be mad at this, right? If anyone was put in this scenario, you're doing the exact same thing, I think. Nobody is going to willingly admit an error, like to do a shit ton of paperwork when really they don't even need to. Just brush it off. You're just going to take it back with a swig of water anyways. But I thought these were pretty interesting. It's fun to get a little like insider information whenever you can. So if you got any of it from the random jobs that you've had in your life, send them my way. I'd love to hear them. But that's all I've got for this week. Thank you for listening. I greatly appreciate it. And yeah, talk to you next week.